Hello? Huh. Guess he doesn't feel like talking. Got it. I've made a connection with his neural hub.
I have something amusing to show you. You need to drop your firewall to see it, though.
Hi there.
Oh, hey. Make yourself at home. Everyone else seems to in here.
I'm Mandela.
Guy, I'd shake your hand, but, well...
You alright?
Oh yeah, just peachy. Well, I would be if that imposter would go away.
I am not an imposter. I am the real.
Host name.
How'd you wind up like this?
Well, you know that urban myth about the human resources Trojan?
The one that makes you move to China and join a factory collective?
Turns out, it's not a myth. If I'm correct, Cell have brought me in for treatment.
That's a good thing, right?
Well, duh. I don't want to work in a Han factory.
All glory to the Greater Han Republic.
Shut up!
What's with Pinocchio?
It's a disguise. Normally, by this stage, the Trojan is in control of its host motor functions. It makes a really clumsy mind state echo of the host, then uses it to try to make a convincing flight to Greater Han.
He didn't look like he's in control in meat space.
Peace, bread, and work in the Greater Han Republic.
It's kind of a stalemate at the moment.
He's taken to bombarding you with propaganda instead?
It thinks it can wear me down.
Long life and prosperity to our beloved land of Greater Han.
So, why are you in a cell with a broken Trojan in your head?
I'm acting as a relay for pirated connections into Cell.
That sounds dangerous.
Pays good, though.
Money is the yoke of capitalism.
Thing is, it's been harder and harder to get into Cell HQ.
So you infected yourself with this?
They have to bring in someone with something like this. Even if they can't treat it, they can at least quarantine.
Giving you an ideal spot to relay signals through your neural wiring.
Exactly.
Jinsel says hi.
Oh, does she? Tell her she owes me double for this one. I lost touch with her hours ago.
She says you know a way out of here?
Well, sure. It's even easier when Central's down. Of course, I'm gonna need something from you.
Fine. What is it you want?
I need an edge to help me get rid of the chatterbox. For that, I need epinephrine. See if you can get them to bring any in.
And if they don't?
You look clever. You can probably find a way to make it.
Substance abuse is the curse of the working classes.
Why do you want this stuff?
The people here don't exactly know what they're doing. Cell's treatment might work, or I might walk out of here and straight to Greater Han. The epinephrine will give me enough of a boost to make sure it's me who wins the battle.
We must persevere in the great revolutionary struggle.
Plus, it's the kind of thing that most chemical synthesizers can make.
Wait, like a food machine?
Probably.
Don't go anywhere.
Ha, you're funny.
I don't think this... I can't just upload it onto the machine. I can't make a connection with it. I need to get inside it to get to its memory. Either it's got some pretty tough shielding, or it's too old to be from the look of it, I'd say the second one.
Hi there. How can I help?
Can I speak to you?
Sure. Just a second.
The guy in the bed? I know what's wrong with him. He's contracted a human resources Trojan.
How would you know this? Have you been trancing with him? Because then we might have to quarantine you as well.
No, I had a friend come down with it.
Okay, then. I can get something to help. Unfortunately, I can only try to stabilize him for now. We have to wait for a specialist before we can try anything stronger.
Looks like it's full of medical stuff.
Hey, what are you doing to that drone?
I was just checking out the hardware. It's quite some gear you guys have.
I've done all I can for the moment. Let me know if he gets any worse, okay?
This might be useful. I've already got it open. Wow, this is some really old hardware. It's going to need some upgrading if I want to make it produce anything complex. A standard one, this was apparently the only recipe available to Cell's food machine. Looks like they cut costs by only giving the module a tiny lens. I'm going to need to find something bigger in order to I've upgraded the optical component with the camera's superpowered lens. It's not compatible with it. There. It should be a lot more sensitive with that now. As cool as it is, I hope it understands its new orders. Let's see what it can do now. It didn't sound like the machine enjoyed that. At least it managed to make me a cartridge of epinephrine. The cartridge is mounted in the ejector. Now let's see if he holds up his end of the bargain. Feeling better?
A whole lot, thanks. I managed to get rid of the knockoff. Give me a few hours. I'll be out of the wall and can help you leave.
I haven't got a few hours. What can you do now?
From here? Not much, but I could give you some options.
I need more than helpful suggestions.
I've got control of one of the utility drones. They use them for moving Kit around the building.
I might be able to escape if I was better equipped.
Atta girl. I've sent you the link to the drone. She'll be in your hub.
You won't sit still long enough to get it open. I can't use it like that. Come on, shoo!
Warning, power contact lost.
This might be useful. A utility drone. A utility drone. I couldn't find anything else, not unless I plan on taking the whole thing apart, and I haven't got time for that.
Dr. Lau, you have a visitor.
Oh,
Good evening, Dr. Lau.
hello. And you are...
Surely you recognize him.
I'm afraid you'll have to enlighten me.
This is Dr. Vargas, the Central Operations Coordinator.
Now, Galatea, there's no need to be quite like that. The fact that I am not widely recognized perhaps indicates how successful we are.
Yes, you're right, Father.
Vargas? Dr. Eduardo Vargas?
Quite so, Dr. Lau.
What brings you from the Fulcrum Tower, sir?
A most grave matter, I'm afraid. One I believe you specifically to be most suited to handle.
Shall I, Father?
Please do, Galatea.
Central, I believe the audio EM capture system in this room to be faulty. Please run a deep diagnostic on the system.
Certainly, Miss Vargas. Beginning scan.
We have perhaps 2 minutes until the diagnostic cycle is complete.
Dr. Lau, have you heard of a gentleman by the name of Baxter?
Dr. Adam Baxter, convicted murderer?
And a brilliant engineer in his time.
Yes, I've heard of him. My partner had a history with him. His parole hearing and eventual release really got to Dr. Regis.
Quite so, poor Viksha. I don't think Charlie ever got over it. And unfortunately, it appears that he's taking things into his own hands.
Dr. Lau, when did you last see Dr. Regis?
Last night, before Central went into siege mode. Why? What's happened?
This morning, Dr. Baxter was found dead in his workplace.
Oh no. Oh, Charlie, no.
I share your concern, Dr. Lau.
Central believes Dr. Regis to be the most likely suspect. He would have known that Central would be unable to provide oversight during the siege.
And he had no shortage of motive, as I'm sure you'd agree.
You have a connection to Regis as well?
Quite so. He worked for me in a research team, as did Baxter in the same project.
And Viksha Regis?
Precisely. We lost half of the team in one fell swoop that day.
It just doesn't sound like him, though. He had other outlets, like his garden.
I don't fully agree with Central's assessment either. That is why I'm activating you on this case.
You want me to investigate Baxter's murder with my partner as the prime suspect? Isn't that a pretty serious conflict of interest?
It is within my prerogative to select agents I feel appropriate for casework, if necessary. Using it to aid an old friend, a good man, like Charlie Regis, I think that's worthwhile.
Remember that your primary responsibilities are to the law and to this city.
You're the controller of Central Operations. Why would you need to cut the camera feed with a trick like that?
I apologize, but for the sake of city security...
Yeah, can't tell me. Classified, ultraviolet A, etc.
I'm glad you understand.
I might understand, but I'm not happy about it.
Noted, Dr. Lau.
I think I've heard enough.
That's good to hear. I'll have Galatea T-mail the case data to you. If I can be of any further help, don't hesitate to drop by my office.
At the top of the Fulcrum Tower. Make an appointment beforehand.
Diagnostic cycle of monitoring systems complete. No wetware or firmware anomalies detected. However, please ask Dr. Regis to stop obstructing the land's assembly.
I wish you luck with your work, Dr. Lau. For Regis's sake.
Got to wait till the AI lab have had their turn analyzing her. Then she's all mine. I don't even know where I'm going. I'd better download the case file.
Ow! Hey, what was that? No answer.
Dr. Lau, so good to see you again, my dear.
Wow, that's a lot of green. Excuse me.
Great, they finally sent someone. You here to get the body out?
Maybe. I'm Max Lau, cell case specialist.
No kidding. I'm the lab director, Dr. Zvidzai Chigwa. Make it quick, I'm busy.
What's your role here?
I'm the supervisor for the telepresence factoring labs. Most of it's automatic. I just make sure it's all running like it should.
Sounds like a big responsibility.
It's a lousy job most of the time. TP is where management sticks people they don't want in public-facing roles.
You're not happy with it?
For the last few years, my career has been one disaster after another. I'm just glad it's plateaued into some kind of stability.
Can you tell me what happened?
Baxter got killed.
In any more detail?
When we started this afternoon, a whole lot of samples had been tampered with. We tried to call Baxter to find out what the hell was going on in the specimen bank.
And he didn't answer?
He didn't. Turned out the door to the specimen bank was locked too.
You haven't seen the body?
No, not in person, if that's what you mean. We got the camera feed online, but it was obvious that Baxter wasn't going to be coming out.
When did you last see him?
Guess it could have been Wednesday?
So he could have been killed any time in the past 3 days?
I guess, but it wouldn't fit with everything else.
What's the purpose of this lab? Plant studies?
Yes and no. It's a TP lab, telepresence. There's a lot of research that's not exactly legal in some countries.
But in Newton, pretty much anything goes.
Exactly. If someone in the EU needs research done on something hazardous, infectious, or endangered, they send the orders here and we carry out the testing.
What sort of research?
Mostly we make new angiosperms from scratch. That's flowering plants to you.
Gee, thanks. Why would people want new flowers?
Sometimes it's a drug delivery method. The earliest commercial examples were fruit that grew packed with insulin. A lot of new wetware begins its life as engineered fruit, too.
Must be awkward if they cross-pollinate in the wild.
And a legal headache. Part of our job is making sure the copy protection works.
Copy protection in plants? Ouch. Aside from yourself, who else works in this laboratory?
There's my intern, Martin Meester, operates the factoring line. If you meet him, it's easy to see why they put him in here. And until recently, there was Dr. Baxter.
Tell me about Mr. Meester.
He came over from Eurofed on a study program. He's young. I guess we're all like that in our youth.
Good colleague?
He's all right. He got on board with that annoying Maladist trend. He knows how to follow instructions, so I let him get on with it.
His visa still active?
Dr. Lau, we do not employ undocumented illegals in this lab.
Just have to check. I'm sure you understand. Tell me about Dr. Baxter.
Oh, he was bad enough to work with in the 60s. As part of his parole, they stuck a governor in his head. Since then, it's like talking to a badly written synthetic.
You don't care for him a great deal.
That man killed Vicky. Frankly, he deserved what he got.
But you still work with him.
He worked for me. It was another part of his parole. Vickerman's management persuaded centralized government that his skills were going to waste in prison. The company wanted him supervised by someone who knew him. Hence, they dragged my sorry ass in.
What did you have him doing?
He organized the specimen bank. It's the kind of thing we could just leave him at for hours on end. Days, sometimes. Really, it could have just been done by the facility's AI, but I had to give him something.
Otherwise, you'd have to talk to him?
Exactly.
You've got a keen mind. What's your take on this?
Hey, I'm not the detective, young lady. You know what I think? I think Regis did what they ought to have done 20 years ago.
Why do you say that?
Seems logical. We've got him coming into the labs on security, then we got him coming out an hour later. When we get here, we've got Baxter's corpse contaminating the specimen bank.
Anything else?
Well, something strange. Since we got in, we keep finding samples that have been tampered with. Looks like he spent his hour here messing up the genomes of our specimens.
That quickly?
If anyone was good enough to do it that fast, it'd be Charlie.
You knew Regis as well?
Yeah, I was on a research team with him and his wife back in the 60s. Baxter, too.
You've apparently known him a long time. Does this seem like something Regis would do?
Oh, after what he did to Vicky, I'd have strangled Baxter too. I tell you, if he did do it, I wouldn't blame him one bit.
Do you think he did it, though?
I don't know. He was always kinda shady.
Tell me about it.
They made him do some real awful stuff out in the hot zones.
Such as...
Let's just say his escape led to a whole lot of people being jailed for war crimes.
You seem preoccupied.
That obvious, huh? We found a couple of specimens that Regis tampered with in his hour here. So I gotta run through the catalog and dig out the backups.
Sounds straightforward.
Not when there's 11,000 samples to take. Oh, I could punch Regis for this. Though, I want to shake his hand for Baxter so it kinda evens out.
So, you worked with Regis and his wife, as well as Baxter. Did you also work for Dr. Vargas?
That pompous ass? Yeah, I worked for him.
You don't care for him?
He was a competent researcher, but he lives for politics. Everything was always about making the world a better place.
And you don't think it should be better?
It's a nice idea, just not realistic. And what we ended up making, it was actually never mind.
What happens in the specimen bank?
It's where the samples of plants and growth matrices are stored. There's a huge library of subjects to work with, natural and man-made.
And that's where Baxter worked?
Yeah, it's not exactly taxing. I wanted to see what he could do since they put a governor in him.
You left him to work alone in there?
I'll be honest, he was not a pleasant man to talk to.
Why didn't the facility's CI detect Baxter's vitals suddenly failing? It's a potentially hazardous environment in here.
We were wondering that as well. This afternoon we noticed the monitoring system in the sample lab was in recursion. All hell broke loose when the CI suddenly realized what had happened.
So either you've got a technical fault with the software or wetware interfacing.
Which is unlikely given how much they cost.
Or someone breached the security systems to cover Baxter's murder. That gives me more hope. Regis would have no idea how to do that. What sort of research were you conducting in the 60s?
You mean with Charlie and his wife? You might not believe it, but we were the people behind Central.
Central? The city governing AI Central?
The same. Newton was looking for a coordinator AI. Vargas put together a team including the new Mr. and Mrs. Regis.
Nuke me. Regis never mentioned anything about this.
It wasn't a happy memory for him. He left after the unpleasantness. We finished the project a few months later.
Huh. Might explain why he hates Central's guts.
Is that all?
For now.
Then if you'll excuse me, I'll get back to work.
Better not. It might tell the lab director. I'd better not. If I start taking every single specimen, I'll be here. Hi there.
Utter nonsense loves to laugh.
My name's Dr. Max Lau. I'm a cell case specialist.
The robot dramatically cleaned the screaming pile of biscuits.
Can I get your name?
Era of moral crisis, punishment of evil, you may suffer from moral law.
Okay. You're not making any sense.
Whenever the teacher told you the shortest way.
Are you alright?
The necessary but perhaps impossible notion of the nation-state works towards the rhetoric of synesthesia.
What's your role at this facility?
Every Thursday, a tribe of domineering braggarts awkwardly smears the ugly fiction monger with hoses.
Uh-huh. What happened here?
The Morrow system.
I see. I give up.
Insignificance could please even the most demanding follower.
Warning. Security clearance not valid for access to growth lab. Vickerman Pharmaceuticals thanks you.
Oh God, what a mess. Nothing unusual found on the body, Central. Estimation on time of death?
The climate control in the specimen lab is compromising your sensors. Ambient temperature is just above freezing.
Update Central.
What is this issue?
Dr. Baxter is certainly... he's been decapitated. And not cleanly either.
His head has been removed.
More like destroyed. At a glance, this would be the most likely cause of death.
What is your estimation of the incident, Dr. Lau?
There's too much we can't say for sure. We don't know precisely when Baxter was murdered. We can't even be sure that this was the cause of death.
That is a fair assessment. A clearer picture will no doubt follow the autopsy.
Don't send in anyone yet. I still need to carry out a preliminary.
I understand. Continue your...
Understood. I hope I can find something to get Regis off the hook. It's some kind of slime. Maybe I should just sample that. It's some kind of... It's a drone that runs back and forth. Must be what they use to store and... I'd better not. Wetware's not going to... It looks like it's controlling the... It's some kind of slime. Maybe I should just sample that. It's a drone that must be what they use to store and retrieve. I'd better not. It's some kind of... It's some kind of... It's some kind...
Whenever the teacher told you the shortest way.
All right, I won't... They look important. Hi there.
An evil...
I give up.
Jordan...
Better not.
Warning. Vic...
Excuse me, Dr.
Make it quick.
I tried talking to your intern. It wasn't helpful.
Oh, never mind that. He's got aphasia.
Isn't that treatable?
Oh, yes. He just gave it to himself. It's what the kids are into these days.
Crippling neurological disorders?
Yes and no. Maladism, they call it. They give themselves old diseases. It only lasts about a week each time.
And you let him do that?
He's not public-facing, and as long as it doesn't get in the way of his work. I figure we all did things the old folks thought were stupid back when we were kids.
I need to ask Meester about the tampered specimens. How do I cure his aphasia?
Well, you wouldn't really cure it. He doesn't actually have the disease. It's essentially wetware designed to occupy the Wernicke and Broca regions of the brain. This then produces the symptoms of the disease. That's what they're going for.
I can't wait a week for the wetware to break down.
Find a way to break it down early then. If we've got an emergency contamination, we use hydroxypyruvate isomerase. It's an enzyme that instructs the fabricators in wetware to disassemble themselves.
I can't get into the airlock.
The airlock and the growth lab are secure areas. We grow potentially hazardous organisms beyond those doors.
I'm trying to conduct an investigation here. Don't make me get a warrant from Central.
I'm sorry, Central would likely agree with us. We can't just give anyone access to the growth lab.
Not even a cell agent?
I'd need a pretty damn good reason. Is that all?
For now.
Then if you'll excuse me, I'll get back to work.
Excuse me.
Make it quick.
What's been done to the samples?
He's used a customized viral vector to add huge amounts of junk DNA to their genomes. These are the last two I found, Medioflorens interensis and Linacia
May I have a look?
Do you think it'll help?
Just a hunch.
Trying to explain.
Huh. Non-binary. Quaternary data.
What do you mean?
My wetware systems are interpreting the genomes of these plants as sections of an audio file. He's used the DNA to store information.
You think so?
It's incomplete. The two samples only make up a third of the data. But M and L, my initials? This can't be a coincidence. He's left a message.
What does it say?
Not sure yet. I could probably construct the whole message if I can find where he's hidden the rest of it.
Safe to say it's in the other plants he's engineered. Here, take this. You can sample DNA from the plants around the lab. If you run out of sampling cartridges, you can reload it at this console.
Thanks. How long would it take to sample everything in the lab?
Oh, only a couple of years. We have over 11,000 subjects. You're better off looking for specimens that would fill the gaps in the clue he left.
I wonder why Regis hid a message inside the DNA of these plants.
DNA's been used as a data storage medium before. Rather than on-off binary, DNA would be quaternary bits. Adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine. If he just left a message on one of the systems, though, or even on paper...
Then someone could have destroyed or erased it. Short of burning down the entire lab, they'd have no way to be sure they destroyed a message hidden like this.
Especially since he's scrambled so many of the other samples as camouflage.
He needs to make sure it's found. And based on the layout, he wants me to. Have you found anything else with added genetic data?
As a matter of fact, I have. There was a batch of Orchidaceae isotria in the growth lab, and... I can't remember exactly which specimen the other was. I do remember that it had blue flowers, spiny toxic leaves, and produced large round fruit. Is that all?
For now.
Then if you...
I'd better not. If I start taking... I've taken a DNA sample from it. I've taken a DNA sample from it. I've taken it. It's the DNA. I need to take...
Trying to explain.
I'm going to need to find... There's some more. Looks like Regis didn't hide any data in that one. Looks like Regis...
Trying to explain.
I'm going to need to find... I've taken a DNA... I've taken a deal. Looks like Looks like Looks like it's some kind... I've taken a deal.
Trying to explain.
I'm going to need... I've taken it. Looks like... Looks like... Looks like... Excuse me.
Make it...
So...
You've got to use the sampling. The Apparent...
I've got...
Darn...
I need to... How do I...
Well, it's essentially what this...
I can't wait a week.
Find a way to break... If we've got an emergency contamination, we use hydroxypyruvate iso... It's an enzyme that instructs the fat...
Have you found...
There was a batch of Orchidaceae isotria in the growth lab and... I do remember the spine and produce... Is that all?
For now.
Then if you look...
I can't figure out what any of the... Wetware's not going... It's a drone. Must be... I've taken... Looks like... Looks like... Looks like... Excuse...
Is that all? Then if you...
Warn Vic.
Dr. Lau, so good to see you.
Dr. Vargas, I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I may.
Certainly, my dear. Anything I can do.
What can you tell me about this incident?
Currently, not a great deal. Hence why you have been tasked with this investigation. Dr. Baxter has been found murdered in his workplace, and Dr. Regis was caught entering and leaving the facility by their security infrastructure.
How about a background to the case? A history?
Baxter has been responsible for the murder of Viksha Regis.
Charles Regis's wife.
He was caught and convicted, And until
I'm aware of this.
he had recently been paroled with the Vickerman, I can only imagine Regis's feelings on it.
Violent, no doubt.
But I knew, Charlie, justice is
You worry that this might have been his idea of justice?
precisely that before Central jumped.
Though Regis has an obvious motive, can you think of anyone?
I shall be honest, Dr. Back there were many who disliked him in his time.
I examined Dr. Baxter's body at the laboratory.
What did you find?
He's been decapitated, his head smashed in.
My goodness.
I've taken initial readings, but they're proving inconclusive. Even time of death. The lab's environment is throwing the chromatograph. Once he's been moved to cell for autopsy, we... What was your...
As a scientist,
But as a human...
he did not take refusal well. This apparently...
And the murder that...
Precisely. I have not spoken to him personally since the... I'm afraid I couldn't enlighten...
Why don't you believe...
I cannot say for... I simply hold on to the hope that he is not.
It appears that while he was at the lab, Regis took...
Really?
Even more so, he appears to have hidden a quaternary data string.
What does the data contain?
An audio-visual message, but it's still fragmented. I believe that Regis was trying to leave a message directed at myself.
This is a remarkable find. Please, continue your work.
I'm certainly aware of your role in this city, Dr. Vargas, but who is your lovely assistant?
Of course, this is my daughter, Galatea.
I'm being groomed for succession, apparently.
Oh, don't put it like that. You make it sound so dynastic. That certainly is not what we wish to represent.
While I was speaking to Dr. Chigwash, apparently both Charlie and Viksha Regis were involved in its creation.
Dr. Lau, that's classified.
I believe we can trust her. Indeed, I brought Viksha onto the project at its inception. She recommended Charlie. They were not married at this stage.
This is unbelievable. He doesn't exactly have a high regard for Central.
I suppose I can sympathize. Yet he will not allow himself the glorious reputation and history he deserves as one of those who created Central, an AI like none before.
It's a fantastic view.
Isn't it? That's why I...
The only part higher in Fulcrum Tower is Central's operating center.
You could probably see all the way to Mombasa on a clear day. How long have you...
Since, 2067. He was a good man then.
And now?
I've no doubt goodness remains, though since joining Cell, I feel that he expresses this solely through...
Do you know about his garden on Tier 42?
Ah, yes. I've been, though I hope we can keep that between...
What did you think of it?
It is certainly an interesting way of coping with grief, though that it has lasted so long is perhaps...
You mentioned Regis...
Ah, yes. Vicky. She was a student of... She spent several years work. When she had finished, she was the natural choice for the project I was just...
He never really spoke about her.
They were very much in love. It pains me greatly.
She was a engineer as well?
Yes and no. She specialized a field perhaps more...
You mentioned a project that Viksha was recruited for.
I'm afraid that's classified.
Galatea. How? It was a project that utilized the expertise of both. Essentially, we were studying organic interfacing and large-scale computing.
Large scale, as in city coordination intelligences, like Central?
On this matter, I can answer no further.
What was your field before?
I was a computer scientist. In the 60s, the government of Newton was looking for research administrator. It eventually transpired.
The city council was looking for suitable individuals to...
Central?
Yes and no. It was what eventually became Central.
What would you describe your role here?
This is publicly available information.
Now, Galatea, for the past 18 years, I've held the role of controller. I ensure that Central, our city...
What would you say your political...
None at all. The elected council formulate... It is merely Central's role.
And it is Dr. Vargas's role to maintain Central's operation. Surely you're already aware of this.
Just wanted to get it from the source.
Sometimes, our desire... We are not...
I shouldn't count you as my boss, then.
Dr. Lau.
Heavens no, my dear. If anything, we are equal. Central acts...
Dr. Vargas, I really need... In my office...
That's classified, Dr.
I'm afraid I cannot give you a... But a number of factors regarding yesterday's network attack, not least the timing. It may be that Central's administration has been compromised.
You believe it's linked to Baxter's murder?
What makes you say...
You cut the camera when talking to me about it. You were concerned that whoever may have compromised Central would find out what...
Ha! Well, I have no fear of the quality.
I learned from the best. Dr. Vargas, have you heard of...
Excuse me?
I'm afraid I have not, Doc.
It's the case Regis and I were working on lately. A number of individuals had their brains flash-wiped by a destructive copying technique.
That sounds most appalling. Does it pertain to this?
Not that I'm aware of, sir. It might give someone a reason to frame Regis, though. Especially if they thought that we were getting too close.
So, perhaps, to use Baxter as a means of doing...
Thank you, Dr. Vargas.
Anything I can do to...
You should have made an appointment.
Sorry, Regis.
A physical photograph. The team. February 2067. Regis is probably the only person I know who'd want his picture on paper. I guess defacing a digital one just isn't the same. Hey, there's Dr. Chigwa as well. Got to wait till the... She's expensive. Got to wait till the...
What do you think of this?
Oh my. Is that? Goodness. Seems like such a long project was just starting and we were all...
I've never seen Regis looking this happy before.
He was a different man before. He's always been a good one, though.
And if you don't help me, Central's going to hunt. Please, Dr. Chigwa, I need to get into the growth lab.
All right, then. I don't know if you'll find anything. If it helps clear Charlie, though.
This could be useful. Looks like a lot of cartridges for the injector. Looks like a lot of
Wondrous all lies ahead. What would the future yet to come?
Really? How interesting.
Beached questions, you injector?
Say that again?
Overpass, did you stick me with an injector? Now I'll have to get my aphasia rechecked. Not cool, man.
Excuse me.
Yeah?
I'm CS Dr. Lau. I've been tasked with this investigation.
Martin Easter. I've been tasked with the factory lab.
You work with Dr. Chigwa?
I work for Chigwa. I'm just the intern. Means I get stuck with all the lousy jobs she won't do.
I understand. I was an intern once.
So, what's CS? You a detective?
Case specialist. So, yes, I guess you could say that.
Cool.
I'd like to hear from you what happened.
So, we came in this afternoon for the late shift, right? I checked on the factory line, and it turns out the specimens are near up.
In what sense?
They don't match the catalog anymore. Not that they're supposed to be. I figured Baxter nuked it up again, so I checked the feed.
That's when you found the body?
Yeah, but Chikwa won't let me get a look. Told me to get back to work what she called Sam. Hey, can I get a look at the body?
I'm afraid not.
Bummer.
Dr. Chigwa tells me that some of the specimens have been tampered.
Oh yeah, I found. Man, couldn't they have just killed the guy without me?
I need to find it. Which?
Oh, a Corsair Brasilia. When I found it, I just thought Baxter was new.
What did you do with it?
I just sent it back to the specimen lab. Should be there in the sample store.
All right.
Uh-huh.
I'd better not. It would only take it away and store it somewhere. Excuse me.
Yeah?
Remind me, what?
Jeez, it was a Jeez, it was a Corsair Brasileira.
What do you think of Dr. Chigwa?
She's a hard ass, but she knows what she's doing. Kinda thinks she feels wasted working here.
What can you tell me about?
Not much. He only started here and Chigwa dropped him in the specimen lab and kinda left him here.
She neglected him?
Nah, he just barely left. Could have been a workaholic, but I think he just...
Did he ever talk about...
Man, he didn't even talk to me, period. Bound.
What's your person...
He didn't talk much. Chikwa told me he'd been released from jail. Looked like he had a governor in his head.
That's correct. It affected his...
Dude, that's an understatement. That Malkin was like a zombie. One time, I dropped the whole sample tray in his lab. Anyone else would have yelled at me. He started to get mad. Then, look...
The governor inhibited violent thought. He'd been serving a murder sentence.
Oh, no way.
That's confidential.
Man, that's unfair.
Why'd you go and...
Not just that. There are loads of syndromes.
Aren't diseases like that dangerous?
It's not permanent, man. We ain't stupid. What were nodes in the body create the symptoms of things which you went and broke. Gee.
In any case, they're
Exactly.
So...
Loads of them. Parkinson's, syphilis, tuberculosis. Last month, it was Hansen's disease.
Wait, leprosy?
Yeah, if you're a Zift, Hansen's is the real name.
Sounds like quite a selection.
That's why I came to studying Eurofeds, just starting to... Newton's where it's at for it. You...
On an individual, that's pretty much the founding philosophy. Alright.
Uh-huh.
I've taken... Looks like... It worked!
According to this, he's been dead for 8 months on his case. Good luck.
I'm going to need... Excuse me.
Make it.
Have you found?
As a matter, there was a batch of Orchidaceae isotria. I'd spot and produce.
Have you found?
There was. I'd spot and produce. Is that
For now.
Then if you.
These don't look like any of the other. I've taken a DNA. They're keeping things probably not what I want. I've taken it. I've taken a deep.
Warning, copyright breach in progress.
Excuse me?
You are not authorized to remove Orchidaceae isotria samples from the growth lab. They are copyrighted property of Typho Labs GmbH. Beginning purge.
Hey, my sample! What did you do?
To prevent theft of intellect gene sequence. Have a nice.
Gee, looks like Regis did. Looks like Excuse me.
Make it. Is that all?
For now.
Then if you.
Looks like a lot. I've taken a DNA sample from it.
According to this, he's been dead for 8 months on his case. Good luck.
I'm going to need to. Looks like Excuse me.
Yeah?
I need to remove the Orchidaceae isotria sample from the growth room. Thing is, the airlock told me it was copyrighted, then blasted me with gas.
Yeah, that one belongs to Tiefel. They're way touchy about it. Only lab staff are able to remove it for factoring.
Could you get the sample for me?
Hey, no way, man. I'm already on 2 strikes for taking stuff out of the lab.
So you could, but you won't.
Sorry, man. Jake already thinks I'm stealing stuff. There's a huge street market for things like...
I need to thing is...
Yeah, that only
Could you get...
Hey, I'm...
So...
Sorry, man. There's a huge street market for things like spark fruit or cracked wetware.
Remind...
Gee, it was a quarter cent...
I still don't...
Man, you
old.
Most of these, they just don't happen.
So it's counter...
Exactly. They don't want it to be, but we show them...
You're rubbing their...
And in another way, it's illnesses like that are what shapes...
Gotta appreciate the...
For a lot of us, posers go for little things, but you know someone's got...
How do young people go about...
It's a lot harder. We use wetware to create symptoms. The wetware I had for that was programmed to lodge in the Baroka and Wernicke regions of the...
So it's not really...
Same symptoms, though.
You'd buy wetware nodes from shop?
Nah, find hobby GG programmers through the Trance. It's like a contest. They're always releasing syndromes. You looking to get into it?
Not really my scene. Alright, I'll...
Uh-huh.
Excuse me.
Make it. Is that all?
For now.
Then if you'll...
Looks like a... taken a These don't look like... It doesn't... I can't inject that. I can't inject... They're keeping things in here because they're dangerous or probably not what... These don't look like... Hey, my sam... What did you do? Gee. Nothing happened. I can't inject